Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool. So have you listened to any of Sebastian's podcasts?
I listened to the first, I haven't listened to his new round, but I listened to all the old ones.
The new round is the old one. He just released one more saying he's going to start doing podcasts again.
Right.
And he's not going to script them.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he was telling me that when I was just walking with him the other day.
Yeah, well, I just recently listened to all of them.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely they were very focused. We'll see now.
Yeah. It's actually kind of interesting with the very, very, very first one. You can actually notice his confidence in speaking builds as he goes through it. It starts out and he's kind of uncertain even with himself. Then he just picks up the pace about 3 minutes in.
Yeah, I think for me it's the start of every podcast. I need to warm up, start yeah. There's definitely a settling in period. Get going. Gets easier every time, I think, and day to day it fluctuates for myself, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, his were very tightly scripted. Very. It's funny actually. He was talking about how he likes. He's just realizing he's really into the concept of self-help and helping others, and it's funny from an outside perspective. It's so obvious. He could have been saying it goes back way further than I knew him even.
Yeah.
Ever since I was 10 or something, I realized I like this. But just you listen to his podcast and he's basically got lessons do. And when I first met him in college, he was talking about this notebook he had where he would plan out he'd write things he's grateful for in it or something like that, and plan for the day. Did I follow the plan? Is this helping me? He's been doing it since he finished high school basically.
Huh.
And it's yeah, you've been focused on that for a long time. And I wonder, it made me wonder though, and I don't know how you could tell exactly, but I think most people have something they do a lot.
Yeah.
And outsiders are oh yeah, they do that thing, but they themselves might not realize it. And so I sort of wondered, you almost need a day or a course, you go to a friend, what's my thing?
Yeah. Well, actually, brought up a different thing. I just thought of it. I had a whole list of things written down, but so Sebastian's also saying he wants to go into helping other people, counseling or something, and he's talking about how
I was considering it.
Yeah, considering it. He's also seemed to be talking about that he's had a whole bunch of anxiety problems, and he talked about that throughout his podcast.
Well, I don't want to talk about his life on this.
I'm talking about his podcast.
Yeah, so his podcast is fine. But I don't want to talk about things that he hasn't shared on his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so him talking about going to that. And then there was this other thing I listened to, a different podcast, where these guys were talking about people being falsely accused. And there's these two lawyers or whatever who help get these people off of death row, basically, and help them restart their life. And then a lot of those times, those people go into doing the same thing, trying to help other people off death row. And then a lot of times, people who are in AA meetings, who go to them, start leading them later on. And, you could go with, transgender people. A lot of people are trans, go into trans right, it seems.
Okay.
So, it's you have your problem, right?
Yeah.
And then you try to fix it. And then you fix to your satisfaction, and then you try to help other people fix that problem. You make it your life. And I was wondering, that's...
Yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't exactly sure how to say it.
Yeah, a lot of people, when asked why they got into the thing they're doing, it's because they had issues in that field, and they wanted others to not suffer them.
Yeah.
And it is... there is this I get this weird feeling from it, because I've thought about this before, where what if there were no problems? Then what would your there is problems though. I think the thing is, a lot of the time philosophy does have to exist in the world. It's one thing to say humans shouldn't enjoy base pleasures like eating. They should just eat the most efficient nutrients for them or something like that. But it's another thing to say, well, we are humans that enjoy eating sugar, and we enjoy, we live in the world. Yeah. And so if that's a place for enjoyment, maybe that's a place for enjoyment. Hedonism is the extreme, but you can also just say, hey, I'm happy with this. This is...
And you will never get to heaven because you are being trapped on Earth. by the earthly pleasures.
Yeah. But it's... You can't set these things in a vacuum. So saying, what if all problems were solved? Well, they're not going to be, exactly. But I also wonder, like, let's say you imagine your own life. Like, I became a psychologist because I had depression and I wanted to help others with depression. Let's say you didn't have depression. What else could your life have been? And whenever you... This is kind of a negative way to look at things, actually. But whenever you do something, you give up something else.
Yeah.
But you are constantly giving up infinite things. So it's not actually that bad because most of those things you wouldn't want to do anyways.
Yeah.
And from the good options, I don't really think you can say one good option is gooder than the other. I think I think it is better to do something that would give you slightly less joy than to do something that would give you slightly more joy, but you had to think about it to do it. I think it's better to act than to worry about which decision is the correct one. Because I think the delay is sort of a multiplicative, divisor. What is that called? I don't remember.
Dividend?
Something like that, yeah.
Isn't a dividend like some sort of tax or a thing the church gives out?
It's like money given, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think doing something you enjoy in the moment is worth more than doing something you enjoy more with a delay. I think it's worth basically infinitely more. Because I think you max out... let's give them point values, right? Like, let's say reading this book will give me 15 happiness points. But playing this song on the piano will give me, 20 happiness points. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think, but let's say I sit, so it's like, okay, I'm going to read this book. And then I'm like, wait, is there something that'll give me more happiness? So I sit down and I think about it, and oh wait, yeah, the piano would give me more. So I go and do the piano. But that time I spent thinking, that was 0 happiness, right? And I think that the max cap on happiness is 6 anyways. So it didn't actually matter which one I did, because once you've entered flow state, it doesn't matter. There isn't actually a better thing. I think when you think something is better, I think, oh, this piano song is better than this book. What I'm actually thinking is, this is the amount of enjoyment I can wring from it. I'll get sick of this book after reading it once, but this piano song I could play 500 times and be happy with. Something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters which one you go to, though. I think they'll give you basically the same level of enjoyment. And there's so much you can do that it's not worth doing things you don't enjoy, really.
I agree with there's the thing about delayed gratification, though, and doing something you don't enjoy to get things you enjoy, and there's a weird big balance that I'm uncertain about.
All right, so let's talk about delayed gratification.
Okay. Because I've heard a lot of proponents for delayed gratification and putting away today's grain so you can eat during the winter.
So the one I've heard is reading a book is delayed gratification or something, because it's not fun to read it, but the knowledge you gain or something, which I think is a terrible way to go around it. So maybe I just built a bit of a straw man there, but I have heard that argument.
All right, that's a bit of a weird perspective on books.
Yeah, I think if books are hard to read or annoying or difficult, I've heard people say the reward from reading a book is the accomplishment of doing something difficult. But I think that
if a book's difficult to read, I don't read it.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth your time, basically. With few exceptions, if there's some really good, and maybe it's reading comprehension thing too. If you have a hard time reading, but you love the ideas in books, then I could see it being well, this is worth it even though it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's where that perspective came from that I heard. Maybe that isn't delayed gratification though as much. So let's find some examples of delayed gratification then. Exercise, I think, is considered one sometimes.
That's mixed too, because
yeah.
I enjoy exercise in the moment. I actually kind of dislike the feeling after exercising. I dislike the idea of going into exercise, but while I'm doing it, I actually quite enjoy it.
Okay. So...
Unless I can't keep up with people and then I get upset because I'm being left behind.
Right, so harvesting your field so you have food.
Yeah.
Or sleeping and playing a game tomorrow or something.
Yes.
Okay. I don't consider that...
I think sleeping and playing a game tomorrow is a good one, because if you stay up all night playing the game, then you'll have just this weird zombie state for the next day.
So let's go with that one. I don't know if I would call that like that is delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it's so that's the word. That's the other thing. Like if I say I wouldn't call that delayed gratification, we still live on Earth, and that is what delayed gratification means. Even if I don't consider it literally delayed gratification.
Yes.
So on the literal level, I don't think that is delayed gratification, because I think you are actually hurting yourself
By staying up.
So it's more of ignoring the situation. It's like eating sour candies or something that are burning your tongue. You're like, oh, that's good. Oh, my tongue hurts. Well, I'll just have another one. Oh, that hurt. Well, I'll have another one.
Yeah.
I think you aren't actually getting I think instant gratification is what you are getting, rather than delayed gratification being waiting for tomorrow to finish off the bag of candy almost. Like the reward is avoiding instant gratification, rather than the reward is having delayed gratification.
I think you're just choosing to change the terms here.
Being pedantic.
Yeah, you're being pedantic. I think
it's a different. It's not like I think the terms. I think the terms can still be used, but I don't think they apply literally. Like, I think the reward from putting something off to a time when it would better serve you.
Well, that's not always delayed gratification even means.
Is just normal living. Like if you harvest your field, so you'll have grain over the winter. Harvesting the field is just something you do. You're not putting off the grain. Like, what are you going to do? Sit in the field and eat all the grain? Like, that...
Well, that is what delayed gratification is meant to be, though, is you do something so you can get something later.
Yeah.
So it's not doing the thing, it's doing something so the thing, you get a benefit. Shall I try that again?
Yeah, I lost...
So it's delayed gratification isn't not doing something,
right?
So you get something later.
Right.
It's doing something so you get the thing later. So in the case of the video game, you can play that video game while you're tired.
Yeah.
And then you're playing that video game experience, you won't remember it the next day.
Right.
And you won't be able to play the game well the next day because you're so funked. Funked? Oh, that's a difficult word to say.
That's a weird word.
Yes.
Right.
Whereas delayed gratification is you go to sleep, so you're doing something. Going to sleep isn't not doing something. You're doing something, so you're going to sleep now, so you can enjoy the game tomorrow.
I think the act of...
That is what delayed gratification is. That is like the literal meaning.
Yeah.
So in the moment gratification would be, I'm going to play this game because it's fun right now.
So I think if you have, like I said, max happiness is 6 points worth or something.
Yeah.
I think anticipation is pleasure in its own right. And things similar to anticipation. So harvesting the grain in your field feels good because you are securing your future.
Yeah, no, and it does. The delayed gratification is...
But it's not actually, it's instant gratification.
Because you know you're... No, what it is you get instant gratification. It's like this big secret, or not secret even thing, but it's delayed gratification is you get gratification twice. Because you get the gratification...
It's like how...
From knowing you're going to get some in the future. You get to feel smug because you're going to be smug.
It's like how firewood warms you at least 2 times.
Yeah.
Once when you chop it and once when you burn it.
Yeah.
And it can even warm you when you haul it and when you cut down the tree. And there's a lot of... I think what you have is a lot of things are like, let's say like a bump, right? Or like a bell graph.
Yeah.
And the line is near the bottom of the bell graph, that my 6 points of maximum gratification. And so you can be like, woo! And climb up this bell graph, but you're not really getting any extra benefit because 6 is like sort of the max.
Yeah.
But if you just flatten that graph, then you have like the gratification never dips below the line the whole time. And so delayed gratification is like, well, I'm going to take off the immediate like stuff I'm getting right now, and I'm going to enjoy the sleep, and then tomorrow I'm going to fill in that hole that would be like me being tired, and I'll enjoy that too. But like we said before, or did we say it on the... No, we just had a big argument about it. I don't think we actually talked about it on the podcast. But there is occasions and so that cap of like 6 points, I'm going to call that a soft cap because I'm not sure about it being like exact. But there is points where you feel... No, there's points where staying in that moment is the max benefit you derive from it. Like, that game might be enjoyable because you're tired. Or it might be all the circumstances are right. So maybe if you stop right there, you won't actually... Like, I don't think that's often the case. Like, when I first got Minecraft...
Yeah.
I wanted to play this thing nonstop. I've only felt that way about one other game.
Yeah.
And when I was worried that every time I stopped, I would lose the magic when I came to it this next time. So I just wanted to keep playing and stay in that sort of magical zone. But every time I played, the magic came back. So I don't think we are capable of judging very well what moments we should stay in and what moments we shouldn't stay in.
Yeah, no, there's that too. It's definitely that too.
But there was...
And so, like, figuring out delayed gratification is almost a part of that, is learning which moments are good and which aren't. Like, I mean, it's figuring out, like, someone can really, in the moment, like, really enjoy drinking alcohol and having a great time with their friends. Like, whenever they drink alcohol, they have a great time. And then it could turn out that it's just being with their friends is a good time, or being in, like, a social gathering is a good time. And the alcohol is being quite harmful to them.
Or it could be that the alcohol is worth it. Like, and that is...
And they have to figure out, okay, it's worth it, but if they have more, then it might not be. And
so I don't know if you have to figure it... Well, like, I don't know if you can figure it out. Like,
you figure everything out slowly. You figure out your balance.
I don't think
figure out how far things wobble. And if you wobble too much, then you fall off the rails, then you have a problem.
Yeah, okay, I think you can figure it out algorithmically, but I don't think you can figure it out heuristically. I don't think you can just sit down and, like, sort of meditate. And
no, you can't do that.
And I don't think you can also just be like, yes, this is the right amount of alcohol for me. That's it. I think you have to go past the limit. You have to go beneath it. You have to find your mark.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can really... I'm sure there's some people that are much better at estimating than others, and people that do it faster, but I think most people...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to wobble around.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful not to wobble too much.
Do you, though? Like, I think it's better to act than to not act.
Yeah, well, I mean... When I say wobble too much, I mean, like, there's some things where you can look at cases of other people and know that, like, shooting yourself in the head is wobbling too much.
Right, but you can look at other people, you can learn from other people.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by wobbling too much. Like, you can use your...
One of the amazing things about being a human is that, like, mirror neurons, basically.
Yeah.
We can learn by watching others do things.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is basically, like, use your mirror neurons and don't wobble too much. That's what wobbling too much is you go, meh, so what? It looks fun.
But I think, I think acting, to go back to the original point of not just being stuck at, like, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I think it's better to act. Like, this is what really frustrates me when I watch YouTube videos, because I'm stuck watching a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Is when I watch people... There's two reasons I think it frustrates me. When I watch people play a lot of, like, Slay the Spire-like games, deck builder, roguelike sort of things. So, one of the reasons is... That is something I am very naturally, like, heuristically good at. So I see the right answer long before most people.
Yeah, don't play Slay the Spire with him in the room, because he'll just, like, touch it, you go, oh, and you want to play the game. It's like having YouTube comments instantly in your ear.
But it is a heuristic, which means I'm not always right.
Yeah.
It means I get to an answer much faster, and that answer is normally a better or the best one. But these people I watch, they probably are better than me at the game because they do it algorithmically, where they go through every single step and they come to the answer which is correct.
Yeah.
As correct as it can be. But sometimes they don't as well, because they also
mess up.
They also mess up and tend to be blind about it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that frustrates me. Is, for whatever reason, I seem to be able to figure these things out fairly quickly. And maybe it's because I'm not trying to entertain an audience while playing the game. Maybe it's as simple as that. Although my experiences with you would suggest...
I'm not trying to entertain you.
Yeah. Although you actually... I don't think you actually play it very slowly. Like these people that what's it? Rhapsody, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He has said the only way he learns something is by messing up. So he doesn't analyze something and then be like, okay, so this is the right answer. He tries every option and then he's like, this is the one that worked, and then he remembers it forever, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like he gets it eventually. It's 2 or 3 times. He's like, this is the right option. So he's kind of like those assassin spiders that are incredibly intelligent,
but if they mess up, they get eaten.
But they're very slow.
Yeah.
Which isn't to call Rhapsody slow. It's just when playing Slay the Spire or something, he tries all the options and then he sees which ones work. And obviously this isn't exact. Like, he does figure some stuff out. He knows not to just click randomly on the screen and whatnot.
I like seeing the things move around.
Yeah. And he is trying to be entertaining, and he is a very good, concise speaker. I don't think he edits his videos at all, and they're pretty, well done. So I'm not saying I could do better. If I played Slay the Spire, I'm sure I would annoy myself looking back. Which is why I don't think it's something people should really film themselves playing, actually.
Just don't watch your old content.
Well, I don't know. Actually, I quite enjoy my stuff. Like, stuff I've made.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, I don't have a YouTube channel exactly, but I like listening to our podcasts, and I like looking at movies I've made and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the second thing, which is more relevant, which annoys me about watching things like Slay the Spire, is when you're given 2 options at a place, and like Rhapsody, I think he does this a lot, and he's the one I was watching a lot. And if Rhapsody ever listens to this, the thing is, I have been watching a ton of your videos, so obviously you're doing something right. It's just like this pet peeve of mine was like growing because I've been stuck watching nothing but your videos for like 8 hours a day. Like that'll wear on anyone, right? Like any video by anyone.
Yeah.
But if he's given like a choice of 3 cards, for example, he'll look at them and he'll be like, okay, this one does this one does this one does this. And then he'll look at his deck of cards and he'll go, And then he'll look at the 3 options. And then he'll look back at his deck of cards and go, And then he'll say, well, I definitely don't want these 2, so I must take that one. And it's like, okay, good. And then he'll sit there like, It's like, you already made up your mind. Just press the button. But he doesn't want to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Except other times, he'll have like 3 cards left in his hand and 2...
action jewel
stuff left, and he'll hit end turn, and then he'll be like, oops, oh well. So obviously the game is forgiving of small mistakes. Yeah. So don't worry too much about either if you have to be perfect about which card you choose, then please don't just end your play perfectly everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to play perfectly everywhere and you're just going to be like, you know what, yeah, that's good enough, then
I think this is just a you problem.
But no, he's damaging my enjoyment of the video, and I think this just minorly, but I think this extends elsewhere. Where if someone says like, "Hey, do you want to play Smash Bros?"
Yeah,
and you're like, we could do this, and the most common one I think is, so where do you want to eat tonight? It's like, well, we could go to that Chinese restaurant. Okay, let's go to the Chinese. Oh, well, there's also the pizza. We're going to the Chinese. And, and then there's that salad guy. We're going to the Chinese place. You said that, we're going. But what if, the pizza, what are you worried about? Is the pizza place going to have you're like, oh no, there's an ideal, there's a perfect world out there, and this is my time, I get to choose which one I go to. And I don't know which one it is, so I have to be careful here. But it doesn't matter which choice you make. And you will have a better time. I hate spending time with people where we spend the whole time going, what should we do? Because then we did nothing for 2 hours. It would have been much better if we'd just been like, right, we're doing this. And then what you do, right, you go to the pizza place. Yeah. You look at the menu and you're like, ew. And I'm like, ew, yeah, okay. Chinese restaurant. Yep, all right. That's all you have to do. Yeah. Or if you're like, let's do you want to play Smash Bros? Well, okay, we're playing Smash Bros. And then it's like, I'm not having fun. And it's like, okay, what do you want to do instead? Chess? Sure, we'll play chess. Yeah. This is a very important rule, actually. If someone says, do you want to do something? Do you want to play Heroes of Might and Magic? Yeah. No, let's say there's an inherent assumption that you want to do something together.
I feel like I'm being lectured here.
I don't think so. I think this is something that applies to a huge amount of people, myself included. Yeah. So it's like, okay, would you like to play with me? Let's say,
Yeah.
You're like, hey, want to have a play date? Phone up your 8-year-old friend, and
Yeah.
you're 8 as well. And
Good.
you're like, hey, you want to play something? It's like, yes. Okay, so the inherent assumption is we're about to do something together. Go to a restaurant, play a game, whatever. We're going to do something. Then you say, okay, do you want to play Heroes of Might and Magic? The answer to that is either yes, or you're allowed to say, no, let's play X. You are not allowed to say no. If you say no, you have ended the interaction.
Yeah.
You have to give an alternative if you want to dismiss the options. Otherwise, like, if you're like, my friend Evan, actually, he wrote a story about this where there was this kid, and every time their friends got together, they're like, hey, you guys want to go to the park? No. And then the friend would be like, okay, well, how about we play some Magic? The friend's like, no. And it's, okay, you want to work, at least like finish off our math homework or something? No. Okay, you want to go to the pool, go for a swim? No. Like, they're suggesting everything, and he's just turning it all down.
Yeah.
And so then in the story, I don't know if I've talked about this before. I think I might have. They say to the friend, so fine, what do you want to do? You have to come up with an idea. And the friend's like, okay, what if we steal some shopping carts, and then we like ride down hills in them? And so they start doing that, and then they ride into traffic, and he gets hit by a car. And so I think Evan knows where I'm coming from too a little. Or, I don't know. But at least he suggested something in the end.
Yeah.
At least you're just wasting time. And there is no benefit. Like, it's not like if you think about it for an hour, you will actually get a better result.
And so the message there is Cameron saying play in traffic.
No, the message is motivation does not lead to action. Action leads to motivation. If you want to do something, do it, and the motivation will come from the act of doing it.
So, speaking of self-help...
No, this is me help. So this is very self-help. I want the entire world to change, so I don't have to deal with all this, like, fear of missing out stuff.
All right. I wanted to segue off your earlier talking...
Speaking of which, for my birthday with Dad... No, this is related. We're going to go for a walk. I was humming and hawing about it for like a week, but I've decided what we're going to do right now. It doesn't matter. We're going for a walk with him.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways, so you could have saved that for afterwards.
No, because I'm acting in the moment right now.
There's a time and place for everything.
And now is the time. And here is the place.
Anyways, so something else that Sebastian talked about on his podcast, which I thought was a very interesting point, was how the video game Resident Evil like taught him life lessons or something, or taught him lessons. And I was thinking about, like, we talked about video games and stuff, and it's like, do video games actually teach you something?
Oh yeah, big time.
Because, like, I was considering, like, the usefulness of them. And I'm thinking over, and yeah, so it's just...
Yeah, so video games teach you to not just take forever and making a choice, because you'll have more fun playing the game if you just play. Like, just go. Like, if you watch Splattercat play a roguelike,
yeah,
he doesn't fiddle with, like, stats. Like, he will walk along, he'll pick up, like, 4 items and not even look at them. And then he'll be like, I'm not hitting my enemies as hard, I'm going to switch weapons now. And he'll look at his inventory, oh yeah, this weapon's better. And it's kind of annoying from, like, an optimization point of view.
Yeah.
But it's so much more entertaining to watch than someone that was, like, humming and hawing every time they picked up an artifact.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, oh, do I want to equip this? Or do I... Like, there's a game called Rogue's Tale, I think, or maybe Bard's Tale.
Yeah.
And I've heard several people say it's their favorite roguelike of all time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn about it, so I've watched their videos. And they were so slow and boring. And then I found Splattercat's video on it, and he showed why it's fun. Because he's like, this is a very fast game. You win or lose in, like, max, like, 2 hours. And you just go through, and he just goes through. And then he's like, here's a better axe. Okay, I'll take that. And going. So, okay, I'm not hitting them hard enough. Like, what have I picked up? He'll look at his items. And so he's not playing optimally, but I can actually see the game.
Yeah.
And he's having more fun, I'm having more fun, because the point is not to win, it's to play more.
Yeah.
Or as Jordan Peterson said, the goal is to play the most games.
Yeah.
If you make everyone hate you and they'll never play with you again, then you've played one game.
Yeah.
Like, if it's some board game and your turns take like 6 hours and you lie to people and you cheat and you've won one game. good job. You're never playing a game again. The goal is to play the most games. You could even say the goal is to win the most possible games. But to win the most possible games, you need to make people want to play with you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with capitalism, actually, where they say it's about maximizing profit, but your business is going to fail if people don't like your business. So people like EA, it's short-sighted where they keep like ruining their relationship with their customer. Where something like CD Projekt Red is becoming the biggest company on it, like biggest games company in Europe, and they're doing it just by being honest and like decent.
Yeah.
And so I think another thing, like Go actually taught me in video games. I mean, Go is a board game, but similar idea, I think. And I was talking to Sebastian about this actually. Is it taught me how to talk, like not how to talk, but how to have a discussion with someone, can change their mind, have an argument, because in Go, right, if someone has their argument, boom, right here, they're pieces of Go laid on the board. If you put your piece in the center of it, you attack their argument directly. You've lost. But if you build up your case, make it an impenetrable, like you make a 2-eye structure, then you can assault their position from your own secure position.
Or you can like spread out and do crazy traps and
or you can surround their point, like talk about a bunch of disparate things, and then tie them all neatly together into like a cincher, bam. And like Go taught me how to interact with people as well. It was like you don't just be confrontational. You don't like I was seeing the world in a different way for a while when I was getting into Go, and then I stopped getting into Go and. I'll bounce back. But I think it also, like, tactics, you see people, they'll pick up a game they've never played before. And they'll inherently understand some basic tactics, which is why board games were invented in the first place, was to teach generals. Basically. Like, chess was designed for generals. I think Go was designed for generals. And it's to teach you, like, you don't need to have more pieces. You need to have better positioning. You don't need to have... And I think there's a lot more than that. Like, there's good sportsmanship, interaction with people. There's, I don't know, let's say you're playing The Witcher, and there's just, I think just learning new skills as well, actually, is valuable.
This is a weird one. I was a bit hesitant to talk about, but it's something The Witcher did to me, which gave me a very weird feeling. So I was just, like, walking along, and I went into just some random, like, farmer's house. And it was this very small house. And, like, they had their bed, their kitchen, like, their chest there. And I was just, like, inside, and, like, the scenery of The Witcher's there. And I just, like, felt incredibly, like, sad. And, I don't know, remorseful or something. And it made me think, man, like, this is this person's own little house. They probably, like, built it with their own hands. Like, if we're going depth in a game. And, like, this house is theirs. It's like, that must be, like, the most awesome feeling in some ways. Like to have a house that's yours, and like this is my house. This is like it's small, it's like dingy, it's like in the middle of fields surrounded by horrible monsters. There's some gray-haired freak in here stealing my pantry goodies, but it's my house, damn it.
Yeah,
and it's like I wanted that house. Like I want to go into the game and live in that horrible little house. If it got to be my house.
Well, I think that's the art side of video games, or not. No, I think that's the art side of art that isn't video games that video games incorporate. Because video games, they have music, which is art. They have the feelings you evoke from story, which is what you experience, like the story of the world. Not like the written story, but the implicit lore of the story, which is in books. There's like visual design, which is in paintings and art and stuff, and video games have that as well. There's theater, which video games have as well, and like the voice acting and everything. But video games, their unique art is the sense of play. Where, well, first of all, you're in that setting, so that just makes every other sense that much more powerful to a certain degree. But also there is, like, a fighting game, for example. There is beauty in the motion itself. It's like a martial art.
Yeah, well, you play a fighting game and you want to, like, go box some people afterwards.
Well, I think you don't have to, though. Like, there's actual beauty in the motion of the game itself.
Yeah, there's that, too.
It's like, if I watch... karate if I do karate, there is beauty in karate itself. It doesn't make me want to go box people. It wants me to enjoy karate. So if Smash Bros, there's beauty in Smash Bros itself. It makes me want to play Smash Bros. This beauty of motion, of interaction.
Yeah.
And I think one thing video games do really well, which Factorio showed, is it shows your mind. Like, it actually puts your mind into a world. It's kind of like unspools it, like, bleh.
Yeah.
And Factorio, better than any other game, I think, it really shows that, how different minds work.
We should honestly, like, record playing Factorio together.
No, I think we should, because it's fascinating. Like, we
have so much difficulty with
we do this podcast together. We have most of the same memories. We have very similar interests. We we like a lot of the same people, and we read a lot of the same books. But we play Factorio together, and
this idiot,
we just want to do completely different things.
This absolute moron makes the weirdest machines and screws over my system. And then when I figure out how to cycle everything and make it work, he goes, "What on earth are you doing?" And then I spent a really long time making it all work. And I come back to the very beginning, and he's derailed that whole system that I had to use to make it work, because he thought that he could make it work more efficiently. And it's
a way to get copper to the whole base, and then someone complains that it's gumming up the bullets because they inverted the perfectly balanced system.
That's because the bullets need to be inverted to go to all the gun turrets.
But it's like, it's amazing how you see someone's... Like, I think Minecraft is similar, but Minecraft, it's not as much, because I think if you make a house in Minecraft, a house is a house.
Yeah, and also someone else shouldn't be building in your house. Like, Factorio invites, I think, mixing systems more than Minecraft. Like, you both build a house together, you have a vision of what that house is going to be.
Also, in Minecraft, if you have a house, it's a building with a door in it. There's not really another way to make that.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're like, no, we don't want a door, we want a trapdoor. Like, that's the only real argument I think you can have there.
Yeah.
And you can have both. Like, I think in Minecraft, the argument would come more from a chest. Like, I want it organized by, like, this, and I want it organized by this.
Don't talk about chest organization.
I think that would be the like, difference of mind. But Factorio, it's every aspect. Like, do you want to defend the base by being environmentally friendly? Or do you want to defend the base by having a bunch of machine guns? Or do you want to have a train circling your base? Or do you want to...
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for expression.
Yeah.
And I think games are weird. They're kind of like Zen art, actually, in a way. Because it's a way to express yourself through art that disappears the instant you've done it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Zen garden where you move the sand and then you just wipe it all away.
Which would make it's like recording a Zen garden. It's very weird.
Yeah, and then you have turned it into normal art.
Yeah, but for you were... When I mean, this might not be the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time when I make videos, I don't look at every detail. I look for things that need fixing, and I'll ignore. And sometimes, like, afterwards, I'll, like, watch the video again over and over again to see, like, how it is and how it turns out. But part of me actually half enjoys editing a video and only looking at half of it, and then I watch my edit and see what I did. Like, I made the most bizarre thing. So I lost the audio to all my videos. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just re-record this. Wait, no, I did a lot of stuff. I'm going to do something different. And so I was like, this video is too long. It's like 30 minutes long. So here's parts where I think it needs to be cut. And so I cut them. And I was like, all right, let's narrate this and, like, talk about what I was doing. And I did that. It's like, what on earth am I doing there? Oh, this would be really frustrating to watch. Why did I edit it like that? And I decided not to cut the video anymore. I was just going to go with the random cuts I made. And I found it extremely entertaining to watch myself and then comment. I'm like, what is this numpty doing?
I think there's...
It wasn't even like the humor from self-degradation. It's just like, what on earth am I doing? Like, in the moment there, what was I thinking?
Yeah, there's... Art can build on itself, I guess, in that sense. But, yeah, no, I think video games... And I can't say them all now because the thing about video games is...
You need arms.
Well, no, they can... Yes, but they can... You don't actually. Like, there's a lot of tools out there, too. It's just I don't have them.
Yeah.
And hopefully...
Won't need
them. Or well, some of them are actually, like, pretty decent.
Yeah.
But, well, for example, I have a voice control.
Yeah.
Which is actually, like, solid. Like, I could use this thing if my arms were good, and it's fast and it's like responsive. The problem is, like, it's fast for me, but my computer's stupid and slow. So, well, your computer.
Yeah.
My computer's even stupider and slower.
You just need to combine them into one
slightly less stupid and
computer.
Slightly less slow.
Yeah.
But it can't handle the voice recognition software. So everything starts lagging after about 30 minutes, which is just a real pain. There must be like a memory leak in there somewhere because it's weird how it like just starts. But yeah, so that doesn't exactly work. But I think video games, they can range from something like, I'm even trying to think of like a really abstract, like something like the Opus Magnum games. What are those called? They're these very like complex abstract games where you make machines that make machines, basically. And then those ranging to something like Stanley Parable, where it is just it's just a more visceral choose your own adventure novel.
Yeah.
Or that. Although Stanley Parable is actually interesting because it's kind of postmodern art in that it only works if you understand video games limitations, because Stanley Parable doesn't have limitations, which is what, like, you can't walk through a wall or something, but everything you do is recorded in a way that it was part of the game.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's limitless because everything is intended behavior. Whereas most of the time, the experience of playing a game is being frustrated by the inability to do something that makes sense.
Yeah. Or the antechambers, like, doesn't make sense, and it's also super surreal.
Yeah. But then you can range to something like Dear Esther, which is just a... basically a or something like The Last of Us.
Yeah, press W.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even... It's more... It's not about the gameplay, it's about the story and being a part of that world.
Yeah. And you get to be a part of it, so you get to do the
story. It's more personal.
Yeah.
But it's still... it is a different art form from playing like XCOM, which is about the art of strategy. Yeah. And that is a different art form from a game like Electroplankton, which is about manipulating a world to make music.
Yeah.
And that's a different art form from something like
Smash Bros.
Yeah, Smash Bros. Or like one of those painting game type things. Or like Dreams, the art form is making your own games within their system in VR. And so I think talking about games as art is weird because a lot of the time people say, of course they are. Some of the, like Christopher Tin got a Grammy Award for his music. Well, that's not actually a game as art. That's music as art.
Yeah.
But it enhances the game. So, because games are basically a culmination of everything we've done as humans.
Yeah.
And I think something that really shows the usefulness of games is our metric for AI and our use and our training for AI is games.
Yeah.
And
almost a motivation for AI is
even
games.
If games did nothing for people, they are incredibly useful for us for creating AIs and for training AIs.
And figuring out how they work and making new systems.
And they're amazing at metrics. Like, we were like, an AI can beat any human, like Deep Blue. Yeah. And then, but, you know, it's close. Like sometimes the humans win. And then you get something now like, what's it called?
OpenAI.
OpenAI is like ridiculously good, but there's something called something fish or something. And it's the best free chess playing AI, basically. And it's way more efficient than OpenAI's AI. I think OpenAI might be able to beat it, but you know, this thing is...
Still runs on more power.
This thing, basically, they gave it, like, here's all the chess books. Whereas OpenAI is more like a human. Yeah. A really inefficient human. Yeah. It's just got, like, way more power and way more years of experience.
Yeah, way more time. It's been playing a very, very long time.
And then you have, like... And then we're like, wow, it can beat someone at Go. Yeah. Holy cow. And now you have... It can beat someone at Dota. And you're like, wow. And now they can beat people at StarCraft. And you're like... This is getting out of hand. What's like? There's not much left. Like, there's
like art contests against the AIs. Like, they're terrible at it, but
there's games like Montezuma's Revenge, which I don't know if AIs are any good at still. Like, they're getting better though because they found out they can teach them through curiosity. And there's games that people specifically design to be difficult for AIs to learn. Yeah. But I think algorithmic AIs don't actually run into the same obstacles as most. Yeah. Because if you just tell them to be curious, then they just learn like a human.
You have to make an inherently weird game.
Well, that's Montezuma's Revenge. You have to stop your progress. Like, let's say the goal is directly in front of you. Yeah. But there's a pit between you and the goal. But to get the ladder, you have to shut the door between you and the goal. So that Montezuma's Revenge is full of those sort of interactions.
I meant weird in a different way, which is basically... I mean, you could probably even make an AI that could play this game, but it's based on knowledge you already know.
Right.
So it's a very simple game, let's say. But it's like, there's a button on the wall. Like, the red button will kill you, the green button will make you go forwards.
Right.
You click the red button and it kills you, you can never play the game again.
Right.
Like that sort of game. Like, humans can beat that game more often than AI.
The interesting thing is, when you watch the AIs that played Qbert or Breakout, or any game technically, but especially these ones are great examples, they don't know what the rules of the game are. Yeah. All they want to do is get a high score. So when it played Qbert, it broke the game to give itself infinite points by walking in a specific sequence. Yeah. Because it found out that was the best way to get the most points. Yeah. And when it played Breakout, it found it could manipulate the RNG of the next level by like moving the paddle in a certain way. So it doesn't know the rules, and so it actually behaves better because it's not limited by presuppositions. Yeah. Which is why when they teach an AI StarCraft and they do stuff like they say, all right, these are units, you use them to fight, I'm actually disappointed because AIs are so much more interesting when you tell them nothing except win.
The open AI with Dota is actually rather hilarious in that aspect, because it does something players would never do, which big part of the game is like killing monsters to get gold. And you have your strongest ability, which has like a minute cooldown. Yeah. The AI looks at that minute cooldown, it's like, wait, I can kill monsters instantly with this thing, and they'll give me gold? And gold is how you win? Alright, I'll use this ability with a minute cooldown every time I see it up. If it's up and there's monsters nearby, I'll use it on the monsters. Yeah. And then people are like, what on earth is this AI doing? And it's like, usually it's like 1 minute, 2 minute, even 3 minute cooldown power. And like, if a player were to do that, that player would be considered like terrible. Like, I play that way sometimes when I'm having a lark, and people I play with like, what on earth you're doing? But then the AIs play like this, and they get away with it, and they can still do well, because they're like, I have to use every single ability, every single moment, and they play entirely different than humans.
Actually, a really interesting thing that the StarCraft AI does is when it plays the Protoss, it favors a unit which players consider underpowered or like kind of mediumly powered. Yeah. Because that unit is very fast. And so what it can do is it can win fights that no human player could win with that unit because it can dodge attacks.
Yeah, well, like, OpenAI's favorite item is a blink dagger. And it's because...
It has, like, perfect reaction.
It can dodge, yeah. It's like it sees something coming, and blink dagger is a disjointing item. It lets you dodge.
So what I want to see them do, like, they kept the StarCraft AI. They're like, okay, it wins, but it can see the entire map. So they got rid of that. And then they're like, okay, it wins, but its clicks per minute are... like way higher, like APM, it's actions per minute, are way higher than a human. So we wanted to average the same actions per minute as a top level player. Yeah. I think averaging wasn't a good idea. Yeah. Because if you look at its graph, it mostly plays slower than a human player, and then it'll do like 1,000 clicks per minute. Yeah. And that isn't something a human can do. So I don't know if they've done this now, but I want them to cap it at like... So I think a StarCraft player does something like 300 actions per minute, something like that, like at the height of playing. Yeah. I want them to cap this AI at like 100. Or like 40. I want it to be able to play like I do and see if it can still win with superior strategy. Yeah. Like, I want to see how good this AI can be with strategy. And...
stop coddling the AI. See what they can actually do.
Yeah, like, I'm really curious. And I think we're getting to that point where, like, every time it wins, they probably, like, you know, scale it back a bit. Because it isn't really... Like, we can say, oh, AI beat someone at StarCraft. Yeah. It's like, well, did they? They could control every single unit at once.
Well, like, with OpenAI, it's like, if you play... You can't play Dota against the OpenAI. You have to play a different game when you play it. Right. Unless you're a really good team and, like, really good players. Like, then it's like, it's a top team. Yeah. However, a group of people like me and my friends could beat the OpenAI. Right. Because there's things you can do to it to screw it over. Like, they really love couriers. They'll do anything to kill them. That's the priority. So, you send your little, like, messengers to them. And they're like, oh, let's get them. And then you can just, like, kite the AI with your little people. And there's, like, a whole bunch of abuses. So, like...
Well, they found with it, but I don't know if they found they could tighten it or not. Yeah. Because it was playing against itself a bunch. Yeah. And they found the strategies basically kept revolving in like a rock, paper, scissors sort of fashion. Where it would favor one strategy, and then it would favor a new strategy that dominated that strategy, and then and so they were worried about how to fix that, because you want it ideally to be able to recognize the strategy it is facing.
I think that's what the latest one did.
Right.
But it still had problems.
And, I mean, that was months ago now, so who knows where it's at. Because this thing was like, oh, it can beat, like, the best player in their city sometimes. Yeah. Or it was, like, best of 10 at 1 or something. Yeah. And then it's like, it beats him every time. But he hasn't been playing as his best faction. And then, it beats the best player playing at his best faction. And then it beats the best player in the country. And then it beats the best player in the world. Like, and that was over the course of, like, a year. Mm-hmm. And the Go one was like that as well. It's like... Yeah. It beat the European champion, and then, like, 4 months later, beat the world champion. Yeah. Like, it just shot up out of nowhere. And I think, like, AI, like, that, and that's video games, and these things, like, you say, okay, so what's that have to do with life? Yeah. I want to talk about GPT-3, because, holy cow, this is going to change the world. So this is...
Vindsvept. Portable.
Oh, don't! I learned what it was, and it just like the moment I learned it went in one ear and out the other.
When in one ear came out your nostril, it didn't even go through your brain. It slid along the side of your brain and then escaped.
And it's not a complicated name. It's like something very like, it's like
gradual, turmeric.
Well, GPT. But anyways, the second edition was what made AI Dungeon, which we talked about before. Yeah. The third edition is 100 times more powerful. It has a reading comprehension level of something like 80%. A human has like a 95% on this test. Yeah. So this thing is almost as good as a human at reading comprehension and at responses to questions and stuff.
You said 100% responsiveness, and you say a human had 95.
No, it has like 80% or something. Oh, okay. Yeah. This thing is amazing. The APIs... No, not the APIs. The... API allows them to make this. I don't know what you call them. Applications? Whatever. Yeah. People are making from this thing that are given beta access to it are incredible.
Yeah, it would be applications.
Yeah. They're doing things like you type in text of what you want a website to look like. You're like, I want there to be a blue subscribe button with the words, welcome to my website above it in red, and make those words large. Yeah. And it will give you the code, like HTML code, for how to make a website that looks like that. And then it will show you an example of that website. Someone made like Google in it. Like just boom. Like all you have to, like a paragraph of text. You don't have to program anything. It tells you how to do it. Another thing someone did was they said, I want something that shows the amount of money I have in my bank account. If I press the add $3 button, I want an add $3 button, and I want a take out $5 button. Yeah. And I want the balance to be like $40. Yeah. And then it made like this wasn't a website thing. This was a slightly different thing. Yeah. It showed them the code for it. It made it. Then when they pressed the button, it changed the balance of the thing. So it actually created an interactive like bank account, basically. Yeah. Another thing someone did was for genetic like learning AIs. Yeah. Genetic algorithm learning AIs. They asked it, okay, I want to make a like genetic algorithm learning AI that takes 1,500 pictures and is able to separate them into two categories. And these pictures are like 500 by 500 pixels or something like that. Yeah. It told them how to make, in this programming language, how to make like the basis for an AI like that. Like it gave them the instructions for how to do it. It can tell you how to convert plain text into code into plain text. It can tell you what ingredients in food do what. It can make math. It can make math questions from text to like formula or formula to text. It can make. Someone made a history test with it and then got it to answer every question on the history test. This thing is insanely powerful. The 2-minute papers, he said this is going to be like a new kind of programming where you just learn how to interact with this AI, basically, and get it to make stuff for you.
And then imagine the version 4 of the AI.
I saw one thing, yeah, exactly. I saw one version where someone said, give me a suggestion for a table to do with computer power or something. Yeah. and it said, all right, it should have 3 headers, which are this, this, and this. And then it should have, and then he's like, okay, fill in the table. And so it's like, all right, here's the top 10 computers, here's their things. He didn't have to feed in anything. He asked it, give me a table for comparing computer specs. And then it's like, okay, so you'll want one that says the computer name, you'll want one that gives like this, what are those called? Statistic, attribute, this attribute, this attribute. And then he's like, okay, now fill it in. And it's like, okay, well, the top computer is this one, and it has these attributes, and the next one's this one, and it has these attributes. You can tell it, like, make me a graph from here to here. AI Dungeon has a new version of AI Dungeon called AI Dungeon Dragon, which uses this now. And apparently it is so much better, so much more stable, so much more powerful. And he's looking into... he recently, I saw on Facebook, the creator of AI Dungeon, said, what is the best program for turning text into images? So I think he is, like, what I was talking about just a couple episodes ago, he is trying to make a reality. And I'm so happy that he's thinking that way. Like, I was worried he was going to just sit back with AI Dungeon 2 and just be like, yeah, that's it. But no, he's like, all right, use the GPT-3. Now, how do I change images, text into images?
I don't think it would be GPT-4 that could do this. But... GPT-5, right?
Yeah.
You use it to make GPT-6.
Well, the thing is, I don't think you can. Because this is an AI that read...
The internet,
basically.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that sort of idea, like, we make something similar to this, though.
But this specific framework...
Yeah.
I don't think... Well, it actually can draw conclusions.
Yeah.
And the reason it can draw conclusions... is because it found that was the easiest way to learn grammar rules. It was like, why does a T always come after an H? And why does an M always come after a T? And so it's like, oh, well, every time you type in HTML, and it's like, so basically to understand the internet, it had to basically learn how to code. It had to learn syntax. It had to learn math. Because you can give it math problems it's never seen, and it can solve them.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what it learned. We just know that we basically told it, figure out how to read this. And it was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to make up grammar rules. I'm going to have to make up math rules. I'm going to have to make up...
So, know those impossible math problems, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's trying to make an AI that could solve those.
Yeah, or just feed it to this thing. See what it gives. Yeah, I think that would be definitely worth doing. Or maybe like a much more streamlined version of it. Like, just feed it like math textbooks instead of like the internet. I think I saw a video where a guy said, I don't think this is going to do anything. Like, we say, oh no, these AIs are going to do this, but when you look into it, it's a very specific set of things. Like, it has to be, like, for Dota, for example, it has to be on this map, it has to be with only these characters.
This pool, these things.
But the thing is, so he was thinking GPT-3 isn't going to be revolutionary.
Yeah.
The thing is, that's what they said about, like, the Go program. Mm-hmm. And then it made a move that no human has ever done.
Yeah.
And that's the thing they said about, like, this StarCraft one, right? It's like, well, okay, it can win, but it sees the entire map. So they're, okay, we'll limit it. And then it's like, okay, well, it can control every unit at once. So like, okay, we'll give it an artificial mouse. It's like, well, it has incredibly fast speed. It's like, okay, we'll limit it. These things improve.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop with GPT-3.
Yeah.
And so he says that the video I saw where a guy... Like, I think most people... I don't want to attribute this to most people. Most doubters, let's say, do not... Because it might not be most people.
Yeah.
Most doubters to the power of AI don't see how quickly this sneaks up on you. First version can't... Like, I was really into algorithmic AIs when they were learning how to play Mario.
Yeah.
Like, I could find like 4 videos on YouTube about them, basically.
Yeah. Like, when was this? 2000 and...
It was like 2015.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah. And
now we have this thing.
Well, I'm trying to think of like the very first like algorithmic learning AIs I can think of. And like maybe 2012?
Yeah. Like, I'm sure the thing is there's different levels. Yeah. Like, there's the researchers, they've probably been looking at this since like 2000 or something.
Yeah.
And then, or even earlier. And, like, just the possibilities of it.
Yeah.
And then, like, the fans have been reading all the papers. They've, since 2005, they've been like, this is going to be huge. Yeah. And then, like, the sort of secondary fans
The application of it, actually. I think.
And then like the sort of coders that tinker and play with stuff, like since 2010, they've been like trying. Like Seth Bling made a video on YouTube about like, I think it was like 2015 or something, of like making an AI that learns to play Mario. Yeah. And that's like 2015. And then someone like me, the next step down, learns about like that, and then gets really into it and starts looking for them. But I don't ever go to the level of like looking for the papers and stuff.
Yeah. And then there's the next step from you. So you're someone who's just interested, and it's just happening now. Like you see ads for it and stuff, and like people are looking for is application. Everyone wants this in application.
If you look at Topaz, Gigapixel or Topaz, whatever they're called, they are taking all these free like open AI things and whatnot, and they're monetizing them. They're compiling them and monetizing them to do stuff like improve resolution on like pictures, scale up pictures, like add information where no information exists. Yeah. The thing is, if you know where to look and you're knowledgeable, you can get this stuff for free. And the thing is, you could get it for free for the last like 4 years. Yeah. But it's only starting to be at the very edge of the market that they're starting to sell this stuff.
Yeah, marketing is starting to reach its grubby paws for AI.
And so this stuff, and this is like 5 years that we have like it being kind of at the edge of like just breaking into the consciousness to you can find videos about what does GPT-3 mean for AI Dungeon? What does GPT-3 mean for... Like, you can find that specific. Whereas when I started, it was like, okay, but now there's people like Code Bullet and Code Parade, and they like Code Bullet especially. His channel is about algorithmic AIs. Yeah, sort of. I don't think his are actually. I think he overfits them. So basically, he just makes them do every possible outcome, and then they do the one that succeeds.
His are breeding AIs, whatever they're called, generational.
Well, I think his are more just brute force, actually. Yeah. Like so actually, well, that one with the running, I don't think was. Yeah. But like his beating the impossible game. Yeah. That was just brute forcing. That was doing every single combination of movements until 1-1, basically. Yeah. Which isn't the same as like he never actually taught it how to generally play the game. He taught it how to do each level. Yeah. He had to do it to teach how to play the game. He would have to randomize the level every time, basically. Yeah.
Well, I think the snake one that he did, which he hated doing and like ruined his life.
But basically, you have to randomize the challenge, or otherwise they just learn how to do one task. Yeah. By perfecting it, by just doing it over and over. Yeah. So it was more a fault of the training he gave it than of his coding or anything, I think. Yeah. And I think he probably knew that. It's just a real pain to make enough levels to actually train it like that. Yeah. So, and it was just more fun just to watch a bunch of squares go. Brrr. Yeah. So, and his is a little bit faster than brute forcing because he took the furthest succeeding one and split it off from there every time. Yeah. So it was a lot faster than just like billions of tests until one made it. But still, yeah. But this is starting to crack into like the mainstream now. Yeah. And GPT-3, like AI Dungeon, I think was the first really big one to...
Yeah. Early adapters, basically.
Yeah. Like you saw like YouTubers are now, like it's actually fairly common, like this crazy game where you can do anything. Like that became quite big. And GPT-3, like this stuff just happens so fast is basically what I'm getting at. Yeah. Like last December, AI Dungeon suddenly appeared and people are like, oh wow, you can make games with AI. And now, well, actually the thing is, some people, like Daggerfall, the makers of Daggerfall wanted an AI that watched the player and like changed the world based on what they did. And like gave them quests tailored to their playstyle and stuff. Yeah. And Skyrim actually has that built in very subtly. Yeah. And you don't even notice it's there unless you hear about it. Like I didn't anyways.
You said I wanted to complete every single side quest in Skyrim and I told you off because you can't. There's infinite side quests.
And it actually generates the quests on how you play the game. Which I didn't realize. And I think they had a much more noticeable system. Yeah. But then they went for a much more like barely does anything laid back system. But it's still based... I don't know how it chooses, actually. I'd like to see like what the Radiant system actually... What decisions it makes. Yeah. Like, is it like, I'll give you more fetch quests if you seem to do more of those, and I'll give you more fighting quests if you like more of those? Yeah. Or is it a bit more complex? Like, well, this player seems to never fight spiders, so I want to, something like that. And the game Wayward Realms, which is made by the creators of Daggerfall... They want to have an AI kind of like GPT-3, like not that same level or anything, or that same... GPT-3 is very inefficient. It's incredibly bloated. It has like 15 terabytes of data in it or something. Yeah. They want to make something that's a lot more just like, much more streamlined, and it basically, it's like a game master.
Yeah.
That like adjusts the world based on what you do.
I mean, these are what people want. I mean, application of AI is the engine. Or the
AI engine?
No. For most game... Unity... Is it?
Oh,
Unity.
Unreal Engine?
Yeah, Unreal.
Right.
That's using
the
AI.
new lighting system.
Yeah, they're a whole bunch. Their sound system, like a whole bunch of stuff, they use AI in that.
And I wouldn't doubt Photoshop already has or will very soon
Photoshop...
give you like double resolution. Do this. Sharpen image. Like, it's coming very soon because it's been out for like 5 years. It's just they take a little while to get around to like
putting into application, figuring out how to actually make it work with their system.
Yeah, but they will figure it out, and the revolution's coming, and I'm very like the possibilities are absolutely mind blowing. It's basically like at this point you could have like your own little servo skull or hype bot or whatever that is GPT-3.
Yeah.
And you ask it any... Like, someone made a search engine with GPT-3.
Yeah.
This is one that maybe people would be more interested in as just like a general use.
Yeah.
You type in your search query, and it tells you the answer. It doesn't give you a bunch of web pages. It doesn't do... Yeah. It tells you the answer. So you're like, when was The Selfish Gene written? And it says, like, 1976. Yeah. And you're like, how much does...
A whale weigh.
A whale weigh. And it's like, whale weighs this much. And it's like, one thing they did is like, this is a more focused version of this sort of same thing. Yeah. It's only for Wikipedia, I think. Yeah. But you go to the page on bread, and you're like, why is bread so fluffy? Yeah. And it will scan the entire page, find the relevant area, and be like, this is why bread is fluffy. But like, this thing is brilliant, and it's basically like a little like research assistant. Yeah. Like, that job's gone. Well, the thing is, though, these jobs aren't going to disappear. They're going to change into a much more enjoyable form, I think. Yeah. Like, web designers, your jobs aren't going to go. Like Sebastian.
There's those ads, right? It's like, this is a web design flow page, which, like, makes it... You don't have to code. You can just, like, drag and drop.
But, like, someone like Sebastian, he's not going to lose his job. Yeah. If he stayed doing web design. Yeah. Instead, it's going to be, like... He's going to be the guy that makes sure that the code it actually wrote... Yeah. Is good and not just garbage. And he's also going to be the one... He's going to be like the repair guy. Like, something's not quite right about this code my AI gave me. Or he'll be like the one that's like... He knows what a nice web page looks like. So he'll be like, I want a web page that looks like this. And, oh, that's job done for the day. Yeah. Made a nice web page. Because, no, you can... Learning... Like, you can... Anyone can get, like, Squarespace or WordPress or whatever. Weebly... But making a page people want to... That's enjoyable to navigate and has the relevant information on it, that's a skill. Yeah. And web designers, they have many skills. Mm-hmm. And the boring part really is like just the knowing the code for formatting and for like, this is a paragraph, this is a button, because it's so rote. The interesting part is the layout. And if this thing just handles the layout, it's like how I was saying to you, well, your animation career is over, but really it's like, no, now I get to do the fun stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I know the difference. Probably if I looked into Blender more, I could find it. Yeah. But like the difference between Blender and Cinema 4D is Cinema 4D has like a ridiculously large amount of little tools and shortcuts and applications built into it. Yeah. It's a clunky mess, which I hate, because like it doesn't make sense, this layout to me. But it's like, why do you do it that way? But then it's like, I find this tool in it, and it's like, you can use this to do this. And it's like, all right, I had no idea I even wanted to use that tool, but now I can see 20 applications for this tool. Like, the thing is, you can make like a collection of cubes, right? Yeah. And these are all bound together. And it's like, okay, how can I use these cubes? And then you can make an invisible sphere. Yeah. And you can move the sphere through the cube. So like you can, like, let's say you have like a piece of paper, right? And you intersect the cube into the sphere into the piece of paper. Yeah. So you can do that. And then it'll lift the cubes up to rest on the surface of the sphere. So you have like this ripple go through the ground, have these cubes rise up. Like, you know the scene in Bionicle where they have like that pillar fight? Yeah. You could basically, like, that probably took ages to animate. But now there's a tool where you can just go, all right, have things increase this height as this ripple goes through them and have it like going. You can just go whoop, and that's like, and it's like, whoa.
Or you can have like a shockwave or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can just do that. Or it's like, you can have a piece of cloth and you can have an object brush like a piece of cloth. And it's like, that's way simpler.
Here's a crazy one, which I'm considering doing, because I want to like make some Age of Wonders videos when my arms get better. And I've already done like half the work for this, which is insane. But I want the little head icon where your Lord is to instead be my face moving around. But I don't want it to be my face moving around. I want it to be the Lord's actions and stuff. Yeah. So what I want to do is have this randomly generated face, because I don't actually want my face on it either. Yeah. So just like this AI generated face. Yeah. And then I want to blend that AI generated face with my own face. Yeah. And then I want to stick that face onto the Lord's face in Age of Wonders. Mm-hmm. And I want it to move around like that Lord's face and make the expressions that Lord makes. Yeah. And once upon a time, like I have been using morphing software for ages. So that takes like, with the advanced programs, that you can do that like a decent job in like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Yeah. Making a unique face that looks high quality, that would take hours of a very skilled artist. Yeah. And then animating that whole thing would take forever, especially to exactly like the Lord's face. Yeah. But now it's like I generated the face with a click of a button. I merged the face with another click of a button. Yeah. Because there's software now, you just like, and it's merged. Bam. Yeah. And this new software, which is like the deep fakes, but like even quicker and better. Like that one, I don't know how to use it, so that might be like a stopping point. But apparently it's fairly simple to use. And so if I figure that one out, then it's just like, boom. And then editing software is even easier. You just shrink the image down. You don't have to like cut out film frame by frame and like layer it on. Like this, like filmmakers are still around. It's just, you can do so much more, so much easier. Yeah. It's just so cool. I'm very excited for the future. Yeah. Very excited.
10 years down the line. Like I thought like 1 year down the line, that's going to be crazy. Like the stuff that comes out in 1 year. 10 years down the line, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen?
I also kind of want I almost want, like, you know, I was thinking I could do like a audiobook for my book, just with those, like, you give them like a 20-second sample of your, or 2-second sample of your voice, and then it, like you can do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited. And we're going to need like an AI to do a key change for the end music, because like I'm just too excited. And like, it's just going to be like.
We could just have the AI do the podcast for us.
I mean, yeah.
Just give it a clip of our voices, get one to write.
It'd be fun. Sometime at random, get GPT to write the podcast and don't tell anyone, and we just voice act it. Because that would be fairly possible to do. Of course, the problem is we'd have to transcribe all our podcasts to give an idea of like...
No, I'm not transcribing.
Just get an AI to transcribe it.
Yeah.
Just give it like 3 years, it'll be easy. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Very excited.